Yeah, good morning. So, Avan, if you recall, HCL Tech has been one of our top pick along with Persistent and LTTS. We still think that combination is going to work excellently. HCL Tech's numbers will be, I think, by far the best we've seen in the large caps. But now we are upgraded with Wipro. We think Wipro is going to be a key outperformer in the sense that a large part of the domestic government contracts are going to come online, and they are gaining more and more contracts on that basis. They are very well equipped for that. And I think the negative of Wipro is already getting all priced in, and the underperformance is now going to be an outperformer. So as a disclosure, Wipro has been added in our portfolio. We are very optimistic on this stock. HCL Tech and Persistent remain our two topics, but LTTS is the other mid cap which we are very bullish. On Infosys, TCS, we would wait for more guidance numbers. We know this is going to be a seasonally weak quarter, but I think IT has the leg rooms to add to the index where it has not done because of the large caps underperformance. And if the US soft landing continues and with a rate cut faster than we expected, then that could be positive. On the other hand, if bond yields remain elevated, then there will be a lot of profit booking in the top 7 US stocks, which may have a little ripple effect on Indian large cap IT. So status quo on the stocks, but on the index, but more bullish on HCL Tech and Wipro, which can be a dark horse on the upside.
HCL Tech and Wipro seems to be the stocks that Sanjiv is betting on. Vinay, let's quickly have a chart check as well on HCL Tech as well as Wipro and what your reading is.
Yeah, so I completely agree with the Sanjeev sir, because he is bullish on Wipro and some sort of development is also there on the technical charts. If I were to see the long-term charts, monthly and quarterly charts, the Wipro made an swing high in 2000. In the year of 2000, made a high of 350. And in the month of recently, in May 2023, we saw that level acted as a support. So previous swing high acted as a year 2000 high acted as a strong support for the stock, and stock consolidated after that. And now we have been witnessing some sort of participation and momentum coming back in the stock. So after long underperformance, stock has started performing. Momentum is back in the stock. So I see some developments which was not there previously for last many years. So definitely comparatively also, if we were to compare with the HCL Tech, Infosys and other large cap IT stocks, I'm bullish in the Wipro, and Wipro can be preferred IT bet from here. So stock is trading at 456. I would suggest that one can start investing in the stock. One can accumulate the stock in a SIP way, because this is a big development on the long-term chart. So one can think for the bigger gains for the long-term horizon. So every dip should be taken as a buying opportunity. Short-term support is placed at 430. Followed by the level of 412, which happens to be the 200 days moving average. So in the range of 400 to 430, there is a strong support which is derived from the 50 and 200 days moving average. And as I discussed, that long-term setup is quite strong. And after a long time, we have seen some consolidation breakout. So definitely every dip should be considered as a buying opportunity. So positionally, I am bullish. For the traders, I would suggest 430 and 412 as a support for the short term.
Thanks so much for joining in. Good to have you on board. Sanjiv, would like to draw your attention to the kind of Q3 updates we've seen, in particular for the consumption space, the likes of Marico, Nykaa, Adani Wilmar, GCPL. It hasn't been fairly strong. What is this indicative of for the year ahead? Do you believe that we could see some sort of a muted or weak move within the FMCG consumption space?
Yeah, so three things. One, we knew that this was the underlying overall macroeconomic scenario where we saw that despite a very strong wedding season, some of these industries did lag because of the rural effect and so on. I would definitely think that Titan has been the outperformer mainly on the back of the wedding season, the spurt in gold prices. But at 3,800, there is no room of comfort. We have booked out of Godrej Consumer and we are upping our stake in Marico. We think the price performance and the valuation now give us enough comfort on Marico to be an outperformer. We've also upped our stake in Nestle, and we think Nestle will continue to be the outperformer in the FMCG space. As a disclosure, we don't track Nykaa, We are more bullish on the fintechs, like we told you, on Paytm and PB Fintech. But in this space, I think it will be Colgate, Nykaa, Marico, and Nestle, which will continue to be outperformers in the FMCG space.
71% for PB Fintech. Bhasin साहब, Zomato तो रुकता ही नहीं है, चल रहा है, चल रहा है, चल रहा है, भाग रहा है. What is happening there? I mean, it's now a market cap of almost $15 billion.
Correct. Good morning. So, Nikunj, the undertone remains that some of these stocks were most hated and underowned, and now they are a must in your portfolio given the longer-term view on what fintech and the basket of home delivery is going to be. And they are innovating very, very fast in all the verticals which they are doing. We know that there are two players with Swiggy not being listed, and they continue to have a better margin expansion on that. So I think even though the valuations look stretched, this is going to be a relative outperformer. But, use this opportunity. I've been telling you from 610, 620 into Paytm. They've undergone whatever crisis they had to as far as the book change. It will take a couple of quarters. But don't miss the woods for the trees. Paytm is definitely headed back into 4 figures, maybe by the end of this year or next year. And PB Fintech is another stock which you are very, very bullish on, where I think margins can start to expand and volumes will show a lot of growth over this year.
Kunal, based on last week's price action, what has been the standout large cap stock for you?
Well, I think I was actually looking at the larger cap names. There was few stocks like, for example, ITC made a comeback from the large cap arena. That was a stock which has been an underperformer, made a comeback towards, I think, 470 or 480 plus levels. HCL made a comeback. So from the FMCG pack, there were a lot of large cap names which are making a comeback. No major decisive moves in the likes of Reliance, HDFC Bank, etc., which again brings the same scenario that these larger cap heavy-weighted names where there's a lot of expectations building up, they are not firing as per most of the expectations. But then there was these odd names which had actually start to spring up higher. L&T, in fact, also, if I'm not wrong, managed to come back towards its fresh 52-week high for itself. So those are the few large cap names which did pretty well, specifically on Friday's trading session.
Bhasin साहब, standout winner for Jan, standout winner for this quarter, standout winner for the year. 3 सवाल, महीने का, क्वार्टर का, साल का. 6 महीना नहीं डालता हूँ, चलिए चौथा हो जाता है नहीं तो.
तो एक मिड कैप आपको बोलता हूँ, the comeback in Idea should be a blessing in disguise for Indus Tower. They've consolidated, got more acreage from Brookfield, and I think the receivables will now become even faster. And we know that in Indus Tower they have a lion's share of the market. And I think once the receivables are back, this stock on an IRR can give you excellent return. So for this quarter, it will be Indus Tower on the back of results, in the back of positive developments on Idea. SW Solar is my stock for the year. 750 se kam mat bechna. The book is doing extremely well. It's a debt-free company. It has an order inflow of almost 40,000 crore in FY24 with a 24-25 with not a single order from the parent. There is a 12% MEP margin. And I think solar panel and the energy side is extremely good for this stock. So this stock can be an outperformer from here. And third, last but not least, DCB Bank. Read my lips. 15 years of underperformance was too much of an overhang. 0.9 time price to book. Aga Khan putting in more capital at a premium. And look at the peer group of L&T Finance. It's now quoting at double the market cap of what it was. And in the same range of business. So convert that into DCB Bank, but this stock is headed to 250.
Okay, interesting there. And Sanjiv, what's the outlook when it comes to the kind of updates that we've seen within Tata Steel? Their Indian production volumes from the last year have grown about 6.4%. How are you looking at the overall increase, the domestic deliveries, and view on steel demand in particular linked to the stock markets?
Yes, so Aman, if you actually see in all the steel stocks, Tata Steel has been maybe a slight bit of a laggard. We've seen excellent numbers and movement from sale. We've seen the same in the other ferrous, non-ferrous play like Nalco and NMDC. We continue to be very bullish on Nalco and NMDC. But Tata Steel is now going to be the big elephant which will move. Given that it's the lowest cost producer of steel, not in India and the world, and as debt starts to get reduced, return on equity will improve. The numbers are very impressive, and we know that sooner rather than later, there is expectation that China comeback could see another price hike in steel prices. Locally, business is doing extremely well. So we have a buy rating. It's in our portfolio, but from much lower levels. And actually, it has underperformed. So I don't rule out 175 in the next bull run, after the market consolidates in Tata Steel. But keep an eye out on NALCO and NMDC. These are still raring to go on the upside.
Interesting report from CLSA. SAR grapes no more, and we are upgrading Sula to a buy 554. We increase our price target for FY24 by 0%, FY26 by about, estimates by about 4%. We have upgraded it from an outperformer to a buy. Kunal, it's a new kid on the block. Almost like a year of chart formation has already taken place for Sula. It's going back, I think, to its previous high, almost previous high.
I think it's crossed that.
Crossed that.
On Friday specifically, it's crossed that.
Somebody was really buying the stock strongly.
Yeah, very good price volume breakout for the stock. And, I was actually intrigued by the reaction on the prices, because this was almost like a 4 or 5 months of literally no price action for, Sula Vineyards, because the stock was, almost stuck at that 480 mark. I call it stuck because the 50 DMA, the slope of the 50-day moving average, which is the key component which we look out for when we try to assess the trends for the stock, it had gone absolutely flat for the stock. Even the 200-day moving average was, which is again a very recently formed average for the stock, had just started to plateau out as such. And Friday's move actually comes as a bit of a surprise, as well as on the positive side for the stock. It could now start to increase the trend, for the stock in terms of the slope of the averages, both the 50 and the 200 moving average, and could lift off the prices from those stuck range of 480 approximately to a possible range which could now start off maybe at 550 to 580 levels for the stock.
Speaking of Sula, actually you have a lot of these alcohol beverage manufacturers that have done quite well in the stock markets in terms of their moves. United Spirits year to date has been a 46% return. United Breweries has done well. Radico Khaitan as well has rewarded investors with a return of nearly 40%. Kunal, any sort of, synchronized move just talking about these players within the space?
Yeah, I think, so United Spirits was one of the few ones which started to move up at, I think at 890, 900 levels. That was a breakout point. Even though I think after this 200 to 50 point up move for the stock, it's still been a bit of an underperformer as such. Radico has done exceptionally well. I think previous month or in the month of November specifically, the stock had made a fresh high about that 1800 levels. So exceptional move coming out from the entire space. Sula Vineyards was the only stock which was underperforming, and I remember I think Som Distilleries was the other stock which had gone through a bit of a rough patch in the last 1 or 2 months. So these were the only two names which were underperforming. Sula Vineyards has made a comeback, but Som is the other stock which is lagging behind.
Okay. Morgan Stanley, oil, more bullish. Turning more bullish on HPCL, BPCL and Indian Oil Corporation, see a 30% upgrade. JP Morgan, Indian oil marketing companies, retail price cut likely, stock still attractive. We upgrade BPCL to overweight and downgrade HPCL to neutral and retain our overweight position on IOCL. Bhasin Saab, our brokerage is slightly behind the curve now. Your stocks have already gone up.
Well, what can you say? It's the last hurrah. When you miss the bucket, then you come back. So, not to comment on any of these names, but these are the perfect examples of greed and fear. When they were fearful, you should have been greedy. And now when they are greedy, you should be fearful. On a lighter note, take profits off the table. There is a lot of froth in stocks and sectors which have underperformed or not been in the portfolio, particularly the power, railway, defense, and the OMCs. I still think there is upside in those stocks, but after a little bit of a correction and consolidation, wait for numbers to come. We've had a buy on IOC and BPCL and HPCL from much lower levels. So I think, like I said, Nikunj, these are now brokerage reports which are trying to catch the froth right at the top. So be watchful.